the outsourcing. In fact, I am the relevant person because I signed the memorandum with the chairman of FBR at that time, along with Shabbar was with me, but I was the president of the institute. I personally think that it was a very good idea, and Mr. Shaukat Tareen was the finance minister at that time. It is unfortunate that it hasn't worked. I agree with you that it hasn't worked. But it is not because of lack of support from the profession. I think I would not go into details of this, but my personal opinion is that before undertaking this, there should have been a commitment and ownership from the FBR, and the government. It was largely the initiative by the previous finance minister, and once he disappeared or resigned, then I think there was lack of ownership at that level in the FBR, and because of lack of commitment, and I think ineffective, because you see, if the commitment from FBR is not there, it cannot succeed. So in my view, that was the primary reason. There were a lot of other snags also which should have been resolved. This was, in India, you know that this idea was borrowed from India and it is doing extremely well. The tax audit and there's a very large number of chartered accountants who carry out these audits, and it is a very successful experience. So you cannot judge an initiative like this in a period of 5 or 6 months. When we started it, we knew that there will be issues. There should have been a commitment both at the FBR level, at the government level, and as well as at the profession to address them. Unfortunately, it was abandoned prematurely. It was a long-term initiative. It was not a short-term initiative. And you see, you have to consider it from this perspective that FBR's resources are very, very limited. The issue at hand, one of the biggest issues we have is low tax to GDP ratio. From 9% it has come down to probably 8.5%. And if we want to tackle it, FBR alone will not be able to tackle it. It will require support of the professionals, from the community, from the society. It's a gigantic effort is required. It is so unfortunate that we start initiatives but then abandon them at a premature level. That's my response. Thank you.
One more question. Madam Speaker.
My name is Saifuddin Adib. I am a member of this institute. Since SCCP is supposed to be custodian of the corporate governance, they are the regular authority, right? Ironically, we have seen a presidential ordinance a few days before giving huge amnesty to investors in the stock exchange. Now, the initiative has ironically come from SCCP. Can public at large have trust and confidence in SCCP with regard to governance when they are initiating such an ordinance, which is widely being criticized? It has come under heavy criticism, right, left, and center. Can you guys please comment on this?
I think your question is more to do with the stock market, and if SCCP has recommended, then it has been signed by the President of Pakistan. I don't think it's too relevant to talk about this on this platform. What I suggest is that there are, letters to the editors, there are blogs that you can write, and people can talk about it. And that would be more relevant if you want to address this. But asking the speaker to comment on it perhaps is not relevant.
I would suggest that Institute should hold a seminar on that separately, and we should discuss that. It's a very important issue. I totally agree with you, but again, nothing to do with the current topic. I have my views, but I think I would not like to take your time in this seminar.
Thank you very much. We break for prayers and we are back here in about 15 minutes.
Now this is the time of the second presentation, and we have invited Syed Asad Ali Shah as the speaker of this program. Let me introduce Asad Saab. He is the past president ICAP, and he is a senior partner of M. Yusuf Adil Salim and Company, Chartered Accountants, a member firm of Deloitte. He is also the leader of financial advisory and tax services in the firm. He is currently heading the technical committee on development of corporate governance, regulations for public sector entities and related reforms. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Syed Asad Ali Shah.
First of all, I would like to express my gratitude thanks to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan and the Regional Committee for organizing this very important seminar. I believe that Institute is also holding another seminar next month in Islamabad. I would also like to thank Dr. Shamshad for giving us a very comprehensive, for coming here first of all at my invitation and on the invitation of the Institute, and giving us the international perspective. And let me just also say this, that this movement enhancing the corporate governance in public sector, Mr. Muin Fida is also a very important, I think, leader who is actually steering this, and he has persuaded the federal government, Ministry of Finance, who had set up this task force and then this technical committee, which then developed this corporate governance code or regulations, which has been issued for your comments. As Dr. Shamshad said, this corporate governance regulations is only a first step, but a very important step for enhancing the corporate governance of public sector entities. This is the outline of my presentation. I will discuss very briefly the need for corporate governance in public sector entities. I think it goes without saying, actually, not spend much of time on that. I will also touch base on the international scenario that we see. See the global financial crisis, the sovereign debt crisis, and what I call the sovereign balance sheet crisis, because you as accountants will understand the balance sheet crisis that has emerged in the public sector in the most developed and the most advanced economies. I will also discuss, as you know, I have remained board member of the IFAC, and when I was member of the IFAC board, I was also a member of the public policy and regulatory advisory board of the IFAC. And in that capacity, we used to provide input to the G20 and other regulators at the global level. So I think as ICAP is member body of the IFAC, and IFAC's activities, it's a responsibility of the IFAC as a profession to promote public interest. So these recommendations of IFAC to G20 largely focusing on enhancing the transparency and governance of public sector are very important, and we need to promote them. Then I will discuss the major issues in governance of public sector entities in Pakistan. I will then discuss some of the key features of the governance regulations or the code that has been drafted by the committee, and also the way forward, how to go about enhancing